So welcome to Panda Strong Podcast. We are the home of Panda Strong apparel and some really amazing new products that we're going to be bringing out this month, and I'm excited to announce them. We've got custom powerlifting singlets, custom sewing salts, and all kinds of great stuff. So anyways, feel free to check our website out, www.pandastrong.ca, to see all the happenings. If you'd like to be on our podcast, all you got to do is send us a message, and we'll give you the information of what to do, but you can also find it on our website on our podcast page. And today we have on the show Coach Alex from Kazam Gymnastics, like Alakazam. I don't know if that's where they came up with it, but I have a vibe that someone at that gym studio likes magic and was into magic as a kid. Who knows? But anyways, from Alakazam, isn't there like a song or a movie with Alakazam? And I swear, from the 90s, something. Is there, Alex?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I just been calling myself Alex Kazam for a long time. I'm not really sure where that came from, but it's been since I was a kid.
Okay, listen, if you're going to teach gymnastics with that type of name, you guys need much brighter colored shirts, okay? I'm not saying sparkles, but that Kazam, you need some action around the lettering. There needs to be some booms and bangs and Kazam and disappearing acts. Maybe you throw someone so high in the air doing gymnastics, they disappear. Maybe is that your Kazam ability? Everything is in the name. You teach people how to do that, train them for the circus, magician tricks.
Of course, we teach people how to be awesome.
That is an important skill in life, just saying. So Coach Alex, he is from Prince Edward Island, PEI. I feel like that's just very hood, like PEI, you know. And he grew up in Canada, which is where we are based. And he competed at his first Canada Winter Games in 2003. And he represented his province at 7 Canadian national championships. Obviously, he's a gymnast. So he is viewed as, and I mean, not everyone can say this, so be prepared to dust those shoulders, Alex. One of the strongest, fittest, and most flexible gymnasts in PEI history. So he has received, yes, he used these skills to earn a spot as the first PEI gymnast to ever compete in event finals on pommel horse at national championships. And he is the founder of Alex Kazam Gymnastics. I'm going to be saying that word all day with my kids. Now you see me, now you don't, Kazam. So I actually taught gymnastics back in the day, but I don't hold his record, so I'm not going to talk about it. So ashamed. So he's combined his gymnastic skills and coaching experience to form a unique blend of gymnastics and CrossFit. We are going to talk about that, my friends. We are, because that's really where, you know, CrossFit got its inspiration. Let's be real. So he has trained and coached some of Canada's top CrossFit athletes at CrossFit NCR, and he continues to grow as a coach and doing things, you know, from coaching styles all around the world, learning and growing as he goes. I hope I covered all the bases of your awesomeness. Where can they find you on Instagram, YouTube, et cetera, besides KazamGymnastics.com?
Yeah, so the Instagram is Kazam Gymnastics. My personal page is Coach Kazam on Instagram, and YouTube, Kazam Gymnastics, Facebook, Kazam Gymnastics. We also have a Kazam Gymnastics Facebook group for our members. And that's pretty much it.
Well, look him up, you guys, because you're about to find out why he is so awesome. And you can, like I said, follow us as well on Instagram. And if you like what you're hearing, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much. So welcome to the show, Alex. We have Hilda Siegel as our co-host today. She's pretty fantastic. Apparently, she went to a CrossFit class the other day. So I'm going to make her discuss that. She is really strong for a girl. I'm just kidding. No. She's a power lifter. She's a referee. I had to throw that in there. She's just all around amazing. She just is in the process about to open up her own gym. Oh my gosh, Power Pole Performance. So you guys, please check her out. We are going to reward you. Go on down there for a class. Sign up. We'll hook you up with some gift cards for Pants Strong Apparel. But anyways, check us on Instagram for my info. So anyways, take the lead there, Hilda.
Thank you. So I'll start with my first question, Alex. Can you tell us about your gym and why it's different from other gymnastic studios?
Let's just be honest. How many adult gymnastics studios are there, first of all, right? So
yeah.
We are a gymnastics gym for adults. Most people think that gymnastics is for kids, and most people, when they think of the word gymnastics, they think of cartwheels, backflips, and skills on the different apparatuses. But what we ultimately do is we teach people how to move their bodies, how to feel better within their bodies, and how to do awesome things. And that starts with the basics. So we really care about the longevity and the health of our members, and through teaching them the basic elements of gymnastics is what really makes us different. A lot of other gyms are, you know, kind of really after the skills, or but kind of maybe have different sort of a different approach to teaching someone like what gymnastics is all about. So you can kind of consider us like a movement gym. Calisthenics is a big word that's been thrown around. We like to call ourselves gymnastics strength training. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know many other gyms that teach the way we do, or they call themselves gymnasts. So I think that's the big difference. We consider ourselves gymnasts, but we are doing very similar things to what other maybe movement-based calisthenic gyms might be doing. We're just adding the skills on top of that.
Wait, sorry. Two things I want to say real quick about your gymnastics is that, like, I used to teach gymnastics and a variety of age groups, and adults, just the warm-ups, just the floor work, like acro yoga, you know what I'm saying, acro dance, just those movements, like when we talk about floor movements, basic mobility drills, like every adult at every age could benefit from that. And if you want to have, mobility training, that's kind of like fly yoga, right? A lot of the fly yoga stuff is basically gymnastics, right? A lot of these derivatives come from that source, right? So I agree with you like 100% that that's something that there should be more of, just like there's more adult dancers that are getting into like pole and, lycra and aerials, right? That are plus size and that kind of thing. So it no longer has to be for like elite kids. So I think that's really great that you're doing it, because like it's an untapped market. And back then too, there was a lot of people who couldn't, the parents couldn't afford to put them into these programs, and there wasn't the flexibility, right? You had to be there for like 5-6 hours, 5 days a week, be training to win elite level, or you didn't go to a gym, right? Because the costs were just too crazy. So now there's literally, it's on the cusp, right? Like it's about to explode in the market. And so the fact that you're like doing that and recognizing that, because people get stuck when they're teaching fitness and like, this is what these age groups can and cannot do. Do you know what I mean? And that's just like not true for the most part. Most people just need progression time. I mean, there's limits with some people's body, but for the most part, you can jump into it, right? And with progression, learn it.
For sure. We always tell people that age is just a number. You are as old as you feel. And a lot of it's mindset, like believing that you can do something at the age of 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. I mean, we do have some pretty elderly people that come into the gym that think like you and I do. And then there's also people that are like, you're crazy. I'm 40 years old. I can't do that stuff. So yeah, it's just age is really just a number, and it doesn't, like gymnastics, that's where we believe gymnastics is for everybody. And again, it starts with just learning how to move. It's not even like we're not doing high level things with those members. We're teaching them how to touch their toes again, and how to squat, and how to get on the ground, and how to play like a kid, and like the same way that a kid would learn to do gymnastics starting as a child. It's the same process.
Yeah, I like that you make people take like the basic movements before they can progress into like the higher level classes.
For sure. I mean, a lot of people walk into our gym and they're like, why do I have to do onset? And it's like, well, I did gymnastics for 30 years and I still am learning to improve my basics and learn to move better. So there's a lot of high level athletes that still struggle with basic pull-ups, squats and push-ups, that just don't understand how to use their bodies to be efficient in those movements. And if there's a weak link in the chain, then we will limit ourselves down the road with actually learning the higher level strength exercises or skills or whatever it is you want to do. We always say that the best gymnasts in the world have the best basics. They really just understand their bodies more. And when they're when there's a weak link in the chain, then that's where we start to find ourselves having to break down the movements more to go back to those basics and understand like, oh yeah, okay, that's where the shoulder needs to be nice and stacked and stable when I'm doing my push-up, and that's what's going to transfer to my overhead handstand push-up. And okay, those are the muscles that I'm also using on the press to handstand. It's all connected. So the further you can go back with learning the basics, the further you'll climb. And we don't enforce people to start with the basics just because we're jerks. We really believe the best, we have the best interest in people's abilities, and we want them to start at the basics for many different reasons, right? We want them to prevent injuries, and we believe that people can do more things that they thought were possible, and people come out of our program, a year later, like mind blown with how their body moves, how their body feels, and what they've learned after that. So it's just kind of we're not a trampoline park, right? You want to play, you want to skip all the things and go and jump around, and go to a trampoline park. We're very the complete opposite.
I just found a slow motion video of you like doing your hair slowly all Baywatch, like something about bullets or something. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And now you have people frolicking in the field, and they remind me of literally, like we said, be like a kid, like how my little kids look when I'm just like, go run, go be free. You have to do these movements, like, red light, green light, but with like the movements you find them. And that is literally what it is. And that's so important, right? Because it's good to be like all hit fitness style, but you also have to be childlike and get into that mode again. Because when you're listening to good music and you're having fun and you're around people that you enjoy, you're more likely, right, to do things you were capable of doing, right? So that's what it's like. And gymnastics is super fun. It doesn't have to be, 10 push-ups now, you know what I mean? And so that's going to lead into the second question now about how often your pace is.
Yeah, so I was my second question is about your open gyms. Like I've been to them and they're the most amazing experience. Like I think of it as like a fitness nightclub almost because there's like well, it's true. There's like the break dancers and the crazy acro yoga people, and like I think I even seen you doing the move from Dirty Dancing. Like, so I was gonna ask you if you could speak to like what your average night in an open gym is, and like there's also music going, and I've seen people doing backflips. Like I like going just for the experience of being in that environment.
Yeah, I mean, so Friday night is the real
And that's the night I go usually.
at Kazam. I mean, so it basically provides people with a healthy alternative to, you know, to move your body later in the evening, as opposed to what a lot of people get caught up in, you know.
Yeah.
And so the open gym times at Kazan, we're really bringing in all different levels of and backgrounds of people and skills. You have parkour people, acro yogis, dancers, gymnasts, tricking people. You have lots of pole dancers that are coming in. It's just like, it's a really cool vibe that people are, you know, they're kind of vibing off of one another, and it just creates this really cool environment where you come in with your own sort of mindset and skills that you want to learn, and then someone else is doing something like that you've never even seen or heard of before. And it's like, oh, cool, like I could maybe learn that. This is the place to do it, right? So yeah, it's and so our open gyms are a few different nights a week, and then we also have a little bit more of a chill vibe on Sunday morning, where people are coming in, they're working on their mobility, and it's no different than what you would see at a, you know, at a Anytime Fitness sort of thing. You're maybe doing some different things at Kazan. You're working on yourself.
I would say it's a lot cooler than an Anytime
Yeah.
Fitness. I work at Anytime Fitness. It's like, yeah, big difference.
You know what you need to do is you need to invite the gymnastics grannies, and you need to make a TikTok challenge where they dress as grannies, and then they come to your gym on a Sunday, and then they start doing crazy things with like the bass and the lights and like say like the nightclub. And you should just call it the granny challenge. We need you to make a challenge for our listeners. Maybe the granny challenge is it, you know, the granny strength challenge.
Love the idea. If we want to go viral on TikTok, that's a fantastic start.
So my next question is, like, I noticed some of your Instagram posts and stuff, and I noticed that you don't just teach to adults, like you're not just training adults now, that you've kind of transitioned. Can you tell us about what else you offer at Kazam?
Are you saying that you're noticing that we're working with kids?
Yeah, like you're working with kids, and I noticed that you don't like you have like the tumble class, and you have a variety of different classes there. So if you can speak to that.
Yeah, for sure. So again, the majority of our program are adults. We don't do kids classes as of yet, but we do private training for kids. So a lot of parents find us, you know, either through Google or they're having beers next door, and they see Kazam Gymnastics. They're like, oh, cool, what is this place? And they actually don't realize that it's an adult facility. They come in, they inquire, and so we do have the odd kid that does private trainings with our coaches. But we with the way the program works is we have a variety of different classes. The 4 basics are strength, mobility, handstand, and core training, and then from there you can go into more skills classes or more like specific strength areas like conditioning, ring strength, or open gym, or sorry, not open gym, tumbling. So yeah, that's kind of how the program works. We encourage people to kind of choose one of the basic level elements, and then from there they can go into the tumbling sort of approach, or depending on what they want to specialize in.
Yeah. So just after what you're saying, actually, like I said, it's a lot of people, like you just mentioned, they see their kids do something like, oh my God, they're going to be an amazing gymnast one day. And it's like, you know, I was lucky where I did a lot of community dance and fitness and different types of things, right? Sports where I was in inner cities where they didn't have any equipment, or really crappy old equipment that should be thrown out, or like nothing. And so that really had to make me up my game, because I had to learn how to teach people properly, right? But on like the basic conditioning level, and even up to 8-year-olds, where some of these kids, you know, have not been physically active any of their childhood. So they're very stiff. They don't have good cardio, right? But it's possible. So it's like you said, it's like you still have to meet those basics first. And I think I read somewhere on your site, or you said it earlier today, that the good gymnastics gymnasts, are the ones who have the basics really solid, right? So it's not right. And so I'd always get a lot of people want to do private too. And it's like, at the end of the day, we can do that, but it's almost like a physiotherapist who prescribes you, like, you know, stretching exercise. Like, why do I need to do this? Why not just like do it to me? You know, break me, baby. But you got to do it. You got to do it yourself. And there's that progression of skill, and you can't just always just do all the crazy stuff. And sometimes you got to do the basics. You know what I mean? And basics are just as good, and it's amazing. Even if you may not see it, you will feel it.
Yeah, it's the boring shit that gets you to the exciting stuff, right?
Yeah, I agree. I have to work on boring stuff more often. I was going to mention too that I noticed you have several workshops as well, like with the cold water therapy, and you also had some acro yoga going on.
Yeah. So I think when people see Kazam Gymnastics, they see that, you know, that very specific niche, but we're a lot more than that. We We also want to, help people with to just live better in their bodies and explore other ways of being healthy and living a healthier lifestyle with healthier choices and learning to do things that are in their control to, just to have a better mindset. And one of those things that we practice is called cold therapy, known as the Wim Hof method. So it's not official. It's available to all of our members, but we've had some workshops and then some sort of outdoor community events where people can jump into a cold ice bath sort of thing. And the acro yoga and stuff like that. So we're trying to really just branch out into showing people there's more than just gymnastics. Gymnastics isn't what it is all about. Like weight training is also really important for you. Teaching gymnasts and dancers how to get involved with like lifting external weights and stuff like that, which is really important with your body when it comes to longevity and improving your general health and growing old. Like you kind of if you have a well-rounded ability within all of those areas, it's important. And then whatever happens in the gym is only just a small little piece to being healthy and taking care of your body. Like it's all of the other things as well that we do outside of the gym, the way we sleep, the way we walk, the way we run, how we drive our car, our exposure to cold therapy, what we're putting into our bodies. So there's a lot that we're kind of slowly branching out into. And again, like I guess for me, starting Kazam over the past couple of years, I've learned a lot about myself and learned I feel healthier than ever in many different ways. And so just kind of being able to inspire other people and teach other people that health and fitness is more than just that 1 hour gym, just so much more. So we are looking at, slowly branching out into more workshops and more community events and things like that.
Okay, so I got to say something. You said it earlier. You said the word calisthenics, and every time I hear that word, I just think of Lizzo, that song. And she's like, in the wind, doing calisthenics, the song. I'm trying to think of what it's called right now, and I did a dance tutorial with it, but I can't think of what it is. But anyways, you should do. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna let you know. You need to do, because you said dance, and I totally agree with you. Like I come from like a competitive dance background and like lifting other girls up and stuff like that. And that ended up helping me strongman because it was very similar. And the reason why I think I did so well with the dance is from coming from that gymnastics background. The reason why I haven't broken yet is from the yoga. So yes, like you said, the holistic thing, you got to put it all together. It was like hilarious video I sent Hilda in preparation for this, and she didn't comment. I'm gonna send it to you. But there's like this super plus size guy. She didn't watch it. It was hilarious. I'm gonna send it to you. But anyways, there's this bigger guy, and he's like,
girl on the trampoline.
No, it was a boy on the trampoline, but he was like shaped like a panda, and he was huge. And he was doing back flips, side flips, and the girl nattering over it was like, "Oh my god, he's so flexible." And that's for me. So yeah, you can't get too caught up in the limitations of your physical body, right? There's Olympic level powerlifters, right, that are like bigger than me. You know what I mean? So yes, health is much more than what is on the surface. Very much so.
Exactly. Yeah.
But with the classes, what I was going to say is I wanted to hear, I know it's not on our questions, but I just want to interject real quick because listening to you made me think of it. Now, obviously, teaching adults and working mainly with adult population, which, like I said, is a new science. It's a new thing. It's a new trend. What are some of the things like that you've observed, good or bad in terms of training them? Because there's other gymnastics coaches and strength athletes and coaches listening that, maybe aren't a fan of CrossFit, right? Maybe I'm a strongman, I'm a power lifter, I'm a Olympic lifter, CrossFit. And they want those, to incorporate some of the benefits of gymnastics training with their adult athletes, right? But they don't want to do CrossFit stuff. That makes sense. Like, what are some tips or things that you've learned in teaching the adult population that could help out the coaches that are listening in?
So working with CrossFitters or just general,
No, I'm saying non-CrossFitters, like general strength athletes.
Okay. Well, I guess my biggest suggestion and realization, even within my own body over the last couple of years, the mobility is always number one. That doesn't just mean like stretching. It means learning to control and utilize, your joints in very active ways, and never being afraid of working on your teaching and working on the weak links. Those are, and being honest with the people that we work with. Like, what is the actual weakness and limitation that we're struggling with to achieve XYZ, right? And a lot of times I find coaches will kind of beat around the bush and be like, well, just try it again. I don't know, try harder, push harder. You're not squeezing everything. Like, what does that really mean? And we need to be able to, as a coach, we need to be able to break things down in a little more detail on what is actually going on with the movement that we're working on or struggling with, sort of thing. And I find being honest with the people that we work with is setting them up for success. And some people take it, some people don't. The ones that do will thrive. And so back to that mobility, a lot of the people that I'm working with, I'm encouraging them. They're like, what's going on with my handstand? I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. And it's like, you're not doing anything wrong. It's just your handstand doesn't have the full capabilities of doing that skill right now because you're just missing the mobility pieces over here. So going to the mobility class or spending a little extra time on your own to actually work on that and come back to that handstand, your handstands will improve. And a lot of people sometimes don't, a lot of coaches and athletes don't always realize that. And this kind of brings up, some personal experience with even just the gymnastics world. I think a lot of gymnasts or even dancers and I guess a variety of different sports. A lot of people learning sports as a kid, often the coach is like, well, you need to kick the ball harder. Like, is it actually that they're not kicking it hard enough? Or maybe maybe there's a technique that's off. Maybe there's a lack of strength. Maybe there's no power in the run or whatever that is. Again, I'm not a soccer expert, but often in gymnastics world, it's like, you need to try and push harder or jump harder or try it again, or maybe you're just tired today. But is that actually the limitation on what's going on? Or do we need to go and work on our core strength, our mobility, or maybe we're just not strong enough for this exercise right now? We need to break it down a little bit more and work on the weak links. So yeah, I guess mobility is number one, and being honest with the athletes that we work with.
So that kind of brings me to my next question. So I noticed that you're really good with teaching all, like you were saying, you're good at teaching like all levels of fitness. What would you tell somebody who wants to get into gymnastics, like say they've never done it before? How would you get them started?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're going to start with a lot of just basic general movements, full body movements. And it starts with introducing them to like a lot of groundwork, learning to just get back on the ground again. A lot of adults.
Bear crawls and the crab crawls.
Exactly. We're doing bear, monkey, crab, duck, all the animal walks that a young child would learn to do on their first day of gymnastics. That's where we're going to start. And just like teaching people and having them feel comfortable getting on the ground, on their hands and on their feet, or on their hands and on their knees. When people tell me like, I'll never be able to do a handstand. Well, I show them how to do the monkey on the ground, which Hilda, you're very familiar with. We do the monkey. Well, when you're lifting your hips a little bit out your hands and you're doing that sort of monkey crawl to the side, that is a handstand. That is where we start. We're learning to get the body weight on hands. So I guess it really depends on what their goals are. It depends on what their experience is. It depends on what their physical capabilities are. It depends on their mindset. It depends on how confident they are. Maybe I see lots of high level athletes that are still not really confident in their bodies coming into gymnastics. I'm like, no, I can't, I'm not able to do that. And then I see people that have never moved in 25 years and they come in and they're like ready to go. So regardless of where you're at, everyone starts at that same level, which is like the groundwork, the animal walks and crawls.
Well, I feel like gymnastics has made me a better athlete overall because like when you're a powerlifter, you're just focusing on building strength, but then your movement kind of suffers a little bit. But I also have the yoga background as well. Like I taught yoga before getting into powerlifting.
For sure.
I feel like I'm a better athlete all over now.
Yeah.
So I think it's helped me. And I wanted to mention that you did classes during the pandemic online, and I actually took a lot of your classes. And can you tell us a little bit about how you pivoted when you were going through all of the like pandemic stuff? Like how you went from being in a live gym to kind of doing the online classes? And I know they were quite popular, so.
For sure. So the pandemic was a bit of a blessing in a weird way. We were able to be pushed over the edge into growing our things online and doing things that we've always wanted to do. We've also expanded our previous location into our new location, which is where we are now. But also, what's sorry?
Sorry, I just want to say it was an awesome location. It's huge.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's honestly a blessing. But Kazam, really instilling people with those basics, that was a perfect opportunity for us to just get people, the ones that wanted it, of course, to learn to move their bodies with nothing but themselves in their home, and doing that over the pandemic. Many of our members and new members that joined us during the pandemic actually were in the best shape that they've been in a very long time, if anything ever. And I was one of those people, leading the amount of classes that I was doing and doing the classes at home. Was all bodyweight training. And so the pandemic allowed us to kind of go back to those basics and just rebuild those foundations with people, with our members, and helping them realize that you really don't need a whole lot. If you want to be a better mover, a better athlete, then come get a variety of those bodyweight classes. So we were doing upper body, lower body strength classes, handstand, core, mobility, and conditioning. And that's all you need. You don't need a whole lot to work gymnastics elements. And so obviously sometimes I find you need a little bit more motivation and some, some self-discipline to be able to train and use nothing without having weights or any equipment or machines, nothing but this. Sometimes that's not always easy to do, but when you realize the end goal is to continue moving better and stuff, a lot of people really ate that up. So it was an opportunity for us to film classes. We started our live programs and so that was a huge success. And our virtual studio now has over 100 recorded classes where people still attend and do them on their own time.
So with your
It's
virtual,
really good that you have that supplementary stuff. Sorry, just to interject for a second, Harold.
okay. Yeah,
I just want to add something you just said. So, it's like with gymnastics and the basics, once again, if someone's seeing a bunch of the stuff online, they're like, but this program is also using the same movement as this program, like yoga, gymnastics, dance. You know what I mean? There's lots and lots of like crossover. So it's like when you're talking about training strength athletes, and I'm sure you can speak to this, is when you are wanting them to improve drastically without the use of equipment, you can do 2-3 things. You can add speed. So if they're doing walking toe touches, right? And all of a sudden they've got to like not run, obviously, but add a little speed to that, right? So they're moving, they're tapping them fast. That's hard. Like a lot of kids can't even do that.
Yeah.
And then if you're trying to, okay, they've got that, now they've got to add a jump, right? So now they're hopping once, touching that toe, hopping on that, like touching that toe. And then the same thing goes for slowing it down, right?
Yeah.
Like ballet, plie. You want torture? Do that at 10 times less speed. And that is the hardest squat you will ever do. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And then trying to really flex out that flexibility with resistance bands, pulling that foot towards your head, right? If you're lying down your side, you bring your leg up, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? So those movements. So it's like you said, it's just keep going back to basics. Great that you have that virtual classroom. Is there if they want to connect with you in those services and programs, how would they find that? Would they just be going on your website, contact you, they pay for it, and the fee is it a monthly fee? Do they, log into Vimeo or something? It's all there. Can you talk to us a little bit how they access that information?
Yeah, so it's the online studio that's available on our website. I think it's like on the top right corner of the website, and it says virtual studio, I believe. But back to your comment about the slowing things down, learning to use or do body weight movements such as a single leg deadlift with nothing but your own body, and really trying to bring the awareness to the mind-body connection and engaging the hamstring and screwing the foot into the floor and then turning on the core and learning to just do that for repetitions at a high volume, and then going back to the weight training, your weight training goes through the roof. Yeah. So that's how I personally felt as well over the past several years of just really dialing back and relearning some of these basics as an adult gymnast, coming back into the sport and then incorporating some weights again back, reintroducing that weight. It's just it'll blow your mind with how much more things feel connected and how much stable you actually feel under the barbell. So if you can learn to control your body, then you can do anything. And that's where a lot of people think that if you've done gymnastics as a kid, you can play any sport or do anything you want at that point.
That's how you get Kazam, right?
Kazam.
Damn, that's the X factor right there. You heard it here first on Pound Strong podcast.
Well, you were going to say something a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, I was going to ask about your online membership, but just to let them know, but you already kind of answered that. But my next question was, what are your challenges you find with teaching different levels from Gen Pop to more advanced athletes? What are some of the challenges you come across?
Well, general population, not having a background in movement, sometimes it can be really discouraging, or just thinking that I'll never be able to do that. This is just having them in an environment where there's other people doing a lot higher level things it's sometimes challenging to keep them motivated, and being able to teach them basically enough that they need to know in order to kind of keep up with the vibe of the class. And then working with higher level athletes is slowing them down. It's actually having them decrease the progression or decrease the load of the weight, or doing less reps and focusing on more quality movement, and then going back and realizing, oh yeah, now I actually have a lot more speed or power or whatever it is I'm doing. So yeah, it's definitely challenging, and it's also really challenging putting them into the same group or in the same class. And so
I just came up with something for you, Alex. The marketing whiz came up with something. Okay, so it's I was thinking about how my kids are, and how I was hit me again. They always want the next thing, the next high, the next hit, right? And humans, so there's new research saying, I'm not saying that you're an addict or anyone's an addict, I'm just saying it's pretty much everyone's an addict in some way, right? We all have the chemical, ability in our brain to become intense and addicted to something. So when you reach a high level of success, whether it be personally, professionally, athletically, whatever, you're always going to want to push for more. And so it feels like a step back, right? And so it's rewiring and retraining the brain, right? And it could be the simplest thing, you're getting them to walk on the beam, and let's go back to basic thing of toe touches again, and they've got a hand hold in their left hand, a beam big. It's not heavy, it's not big, it's not hard to hold, but it's making the brain do something different, right? And two things at once. So I was gonna say is with you, it's helping them uncover all of that, take away the shame, and go back to learning and loving your body. And I feel that's what burlesque is about. All right, that's what dance is about. It's just getting into your body. It's like yoga, and making peace with it and getting comfortable with it, and asking it to push into parts that maybe you wish you didn't have, right? Or you were uncomfortable with, you're ashamed of, or whatever, so that you can have that holistic health, holistic peace, and kind of break those chains. And I think, like you said, a lot of people don't understand is them not having that basic mobility or those basic things is what's holding them back. And we're a generation, I think, that's so focused on that superficial look that it can be very hard to be like, okay, I want to commit to these types of training. It's going to make a huge difference in my health mobility, but it's not going to get that kazam, like that hit, that next thing on Instagram, the next video of me repping whatever. So I think when you talk about longevity, and that's kind of like the government schools now. Like when we were kids, it was about elite athletes, and they started like, okay, that's not going to happen. But for me, teaching physical literacy like for 14 years, I'm like, no, we need to get people back to those basics and of all ages and get them fit. And it doesn't necessarily need to be about beach body diet or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like just going back to that. But I would say that's what your kazam is. You know, that's what kazam means. Okay, it's getting rid of that. I had a better slogan. I'll come up with it again, but it went away when I went back to my technical brain, got on my creative brain. But yeah, instead of trying to be so we're so like end game focused all the time. Like, what's the next 30 days? What's the 60 days? What's the next?
Sure, I think.
Chill the F out, man. Just work out. Okay, relax.
Exactly. I think Kazam is all about making people feel okay with where they're at and being in the present moment. And I think so many people struggle with like, well, I used to be this, I used to be that, or I'll never do this and I'll never do that. Well, like, let's just focus on right now. Like, this is the most important. Like, let's forget about everything else. Let's just focus on the present moment. And I think a lot of people really struggle and struggle with the acceptance of like, this is just who I am, this is where I'm at, and whatever, it is what it is. And so Kazam is kind of gives people that sort of healthy environment to just be themselves and not feel that sort of judgment. And it's a really cool vibe. I mean, the community is really powerful when you have other people that have kind of a little, maybe walked a few steps further along the journey, and then some new one comes in and they're just behind them. Like, it kind of, they feed off of one another. And so, yeah, the Kazam is, it's for everybody. I mean, you just have to be in the headspace and be okay with not being the best, not being who you once were, and not being who you want to be. You need to focus on right now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Give me also stuff with that, because that's a beautiful thing. I think a lot of people don't do all the things they want to do athletically because that's how they feel. And coming from someone who's always been plus size as an athlete, I've always been like, well, I'll just wait till, you know. And now, so this is my summer savage, but this fall, I told Hilda, I'm like, I'm getting 2 surgeries, and I'm going to be doing like a bodybuilding competition in spring. I don't even care if I win. Like, it's about me going back to my body. And I'm like, after that, I'm doing aerials. It's on. You know what I mean? So watch out. There's going to be a panda flag. Listen, you guys better not too get close, because once that weight gets there, I'm going to be everywhere. I'll knock you right out. You ever seen videos of that? People pole dancing, their kid walks by and they fling them across the room. That's what's going to happen. Don't do that. You know. Anyway, Candace, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask one more question. So can you tell us about your personal journey, how and why you decided to open a gymnastics gym?
Yeah, I never thought I'd be doing what I do today. Honestly, I thought my gymnastics career was over 10 years ago, I would say, maybe 12 years ago. I came to Ottawa as a youth worker, and
like I know somebody who knows you from that too, because you used to work at Robert Smart, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I used to be a youth worker, and when I came to Ottawa as that sort of profession, and I got myself back into CrossFit and was looking for something new and needed to take care of my body and needed to train. And so my gymnastics days were over at the time. And when I was doing CrossFit, I felt like I was learning things pretty quickly, and I was getting pretty competitive at the time and wanted to kind of move better, but I was also getting some injuries and stuff. And so I was kind of forced to slow down and learn to move my body and learn to take care of my back. I had some back and shoulder problems at the time. So I was just kind of like relearning how to move a little bit in a very different way. And then I was also starting to teach workshops. So I worked with a lot of CrossFitters at the time. I traveled Ontario wide to all the gyms and taught weekend workshops a couple times a month. And I was working with athletes at the time, working on their skills, teaching them the important mobility concepts and how to be more efficient in their body when they're doing XYZ. And that slowly transferred to me doing 1 or 2 nights a week, running an actual adult gymnastics program, focusing on gymnastic strength training. And that includes the 4 basics that we do now. And so that idea just slowly started to expand, eventually into 7 days a week program, and then into a full team of coaches and members. And that now we have our own space. So again, I never thought that I would ever do something like this, but I really believe that when you're passionate, you always follow your passion. And when you're passionate about something, you can do anything. Like being a business owner was just something that was super crazy to me. It's super over my head, and was always insecure about the idea of just, the title business owner. That's just crazy, right? But when you're passionate about something and you really just understand the subject and can talk to people for hours about it, and it excites you and it brings you fulfillment, then you're on the right path. And that just slowly kind of evolved into where I am now.
Oh, Alex, a need for it, like in the community, like. There's nothing in this area either. So that's why I travel so far to go to your classes, because they're pretty amazing.
Thank you.
Hey, Alex, I want to tell you something. So we always feel like, you know, we get trapped up, always talk about this on the show, and your avatar, your mask, whatever, your identity. And, you know, we make identity way too simplistic in the sense of like, okay, well, I want to be an elite gymnast. Okay, I've done that, so I need to say that. And it's like, I always feel that when you get to a point in your career, your business, whatever, your community work, that you can give back and train other leaders and like have a residual legacy, like that to me is impact. That to me is success and significance, really, right? Because anyone can have whatever success, right? Like you can get famous on YouTube and all you gotta do is eat mukbang. Is that significant? Are you helping make the world a better place? No. Could you buy a mansion doing that? Yes. So, you know, that would be technically in the class of success. But I mean, what you've created is something that's significant for your community and for yourself. And I think that's the Kazan. Like I said, it's like, you know, not feeling like you're too old. Like I'm going to be 35 this year. And I'm really excited about this business and how it's growing and all the other things that are happening in my life. And, you know, I don't worry about the weight on the scale anymore, right? And I don't get caught up in like deadlines. So it's like you can have success and significance in age, and just in business, like you said, you don't have to go to school for business administration. Like I literally, a little off topic, but still included in this, is like I met a business analyst at the park yesterday, it's my kid, and he kept saying it's all about your language and talk and thought process. It's kind of like blissful ignorance, right? Like if you don't think about it, it's not hard. So it's either don't think about it like it's something as a task or to do that's hard, or if you do think about it, reframe it, right? So I was listening to him, and he was thinking of it as a task, and he was, you know, framing it. He's like, well, the challenge is this, because he wants to stay-at-home dad. His wife has a successful career. That's how that role got switched. And he wants to, you know, become a full-time business analyst. And he was talking about just doing it as a volunteer. And like, it's all about value and how you value yourself and your life and the work you want to do. So you're passionate about obviously giving other adults a chance to learn gymnastics, right? And I'm telling you, same with adult figure skating and like adult artistic swimming. There are so many people that didn't, like I said, just coming from low-income backgrounds that now have successful careers or business and would like absolutely die to do that. So because you believed in yourself enough, right? And you weren't negative about it with yourself. And that's like, to me, that's a foundation of being a really good entrepreneur, is not allowing negativity or obstacles or pitfalls or limitations that you set out in your mind or the people have said to you or around you to stop you from achieving something. And that's why you're where you're at. And I think like the takeaway would be for this is like, it's really intimidating seeing people do successful, amazing shit on social media all the time, whether it's a backflip in gymnastics, whether it's like, you know, like 20 push-ups and you're like, I'm too old or fat, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? It's really easy to find evidence and receipts to be like, there's no way, right? So what are some, you know, tips and advice you have in closing, you know, for people who want to maybe come check out your gym or other classes, maybe the virtual stuff, but just want to, you know, get involved, who, you know, have limitations in their head. Maybe they're in a negative thought, you know?
I think the mindset thing that we mentioned earlier really applies to so many levels. It applies to thinking that you can do something physically, and it applies to you thinking that you can start a business. And so I've listened to just lots of, you know, books and things, motivation things, and to kind of help me along the way and to be able to inspire others, but also working on myself. And one of those biggest things is, you know, you whatever you believe is true. So if you think something, whatever that is, it's true. If you think you can come and do gymnastics, then you're right. And if you think you can't, well, you're also right. So if you know, want to be, you know, this whole sort of, I don't know, money talk that is going around on YouTube where people are like, you can be a millionaire, blah, blah. But it's true. Like if you tell yourself that I am going to, I'm going to buy a $1 million yacht, like, if you believe it and you honestly tell yourself that and you remind yourself that this is what I want, this is something that excites me, this is something that brings me fulfillment, like whatever that is, it's true. You have to stick to that. And so that's a really powerful thing that I, you know, continue to use on a daily basis just with myself. And it's that's my motivation. That's how I continue to help myself and help others. So whether it's gymnastics, whether it's losing weight, whether it is being healthier, being a better father, like it doesn't matter. Your mindset and the things you tell yourself are really powerful. I don't do like mindfulness things in the morning where like, you know, I write my gratitudes down on the paper, but like I think about this stuff. I'm aware of these things, and I'm a little bit crazy about it because
no, that's good.
And it excites me because that's what continues to allow me to go forwards and inspire other people. So the moral of the story is it's never too late to be awesome.
Yes. Where is the clapping? Where is my stage and my audience when you need one? Come on, raise your hands in the air. Yes. You know what? Honestly, oh my gosh, that was so well said. I'm having Oprah feelings right now. But yes, you know, I can see that your eyes are taking it seriously, and that's what I'm trying to say in closing. Is like, you know, a lot of people may have been around people who always like josh them, right? They're like, "Do you think you could be billionaire? You're crazy. Shut up. Go back, sit back down. Maybe it's friends, family, right? So it can seem ludicrous. So think ludicrously then. Who says you can't?
Yeah.
Right?
Big.
There's stuff. There's
Crazy.
so many things and options nowadays. So like, who says when someone's like trying to remind you that you broke ass or you came from this? Just laugh at them, because like literally like, who are they? I'm always like, you're not God. You're not my daddy. You don't know. You don't know, mate. So it's like you have to take yourself seriously. You have to take your dreams seriously in your life seriously, in the sense of like, you're the one who's going to die one day, who's going to like, fuck, I wish I would have tried these things or done these things. So, you know what I mean? Like, after pleasing your kids or whatever, like, you have to live with the decisions you do or don't make every day. So pick whatever and pursue it. And that's that.
For sure.
And then adjust as you go. So yeah,
Life is really short.
It is. But thank you so much again for being on the show. Like I said, you guys, follow him, Kazam Gymnastics on Instagram. We're going to come up with a Lizzo calisthenics challenge or some Kazam challenge. We're going to talk about it. I'm pretty excited. But anyways, thanks again, you guys. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, follow. Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, Kazam Gymnastics on YouTube.
Oh, I didn't see it when I was like, okay, all right, okay, you guys, let's go check it out. Let's see which one. Try to find the one where they're frolicking